very simply, what we do is we look for best practices in cities around the world, and we try to bring them back to other cities, including my hometown, New York. And so we've been working with Bruce and Clay in Silicon Harlem for a number of years, again, trying to bring the world's best practices here so that they can be studied and implemented when it's appropriate, right? I thought it was interesting today, two things. First of all, Colin was talking about smart cities and how that's really just sort of the first step. You know, and FCC Commissioner Clyburn also said something quite interesting when she was she's making a joke about someone who had come up to her and was talking to her about how she used the data to tell you how many miles they'd walked. And what we're seeing as sort of an undercurrent now in cities is that people are sort of moving away from the idea of the worship of technology. And they're using technology for things that technology has been used for 5,000 years by human beings, which is to enable human community to flourish. And so I think to some extent we're back to that. But, you know, as you heard this morning, in the modern economy, you have to have broadband as your base. I mean, that's the new railroad, right? When you think of the proposition of the old railroad, if it didn't run through your town or village, you couldn't put cargo on it, and you couldn't go out and trade with the next state, with the next town, and so you were therefore at a disadvantage. I think we'll all agree here that broadband is basically the same thing, except instead of putting cargo on it like timber or coal or oil, you now put information on it. You now put apps on it. And you can, if you're on that network, if you're on that railroad, you can still trade with anyone, except now your trading partners could be Australia. They could be Canada. They could be Taiwan. They could be Vietnam, where, you know, I'm going in a month because they've launched a new city of 1 million people based on the concept of the intelligent community. So those are the stakes that communities play for now, to get the new railroad right, and then to take that smart layer and then move to the next level, which is intelligence. And intelligence is the key, because the only endless natural resource really is the human mind. And we still really haven't figured out how to harness it properly to do the types of things we need to do in our communities. You know, Clay was talking this morning about the homegrown concept, creating jobs within the community. And again, as these gentlemen talk, you will see that that's what's happening. But why that's important is not necessarily because you're going to create a couple of hundred jobs in coding. I kind of disagree with that notion. I think it's a good place to start. But where the real action is keeping the entrepreneurs here in Harlem or in Melbourne or in Edmonton, which these guys are trying to do, and allowing them to create the next industries, where you're going to employ 800,000 people, 900,000 people, not those 9 or 10 jobs. Because once you start creating industries, as we know from Silicon Valley, a great example, or Singapore, then you start controlling your own destiny. People start coming to you because you've got the new idea and you've leveraged it and scaled it to the point where it's now an industry. And that's what makes Silicon Valley powerful, both economically and politically. I don't particularly think they're powerful socially. I think we're more powerful here socially, culturally. But again, we need to put that into the total package. So that's how I'm going to start off today. Our theme is humanizing data. And so what we're going to be talking about, again, is this idea that as we are able to ubiquitously collect data, we need to put it in service of the human being. And again, we have found examples, 160 of them around the world, that are doing specifically that. And what I want to present today are some global best practices so that when Harlem has ubiquitous broadband in 2025, they will have been able to go to school on these folks and also to be working with them in partnership for investments, for collaborations as well. So with that, I'll introduce the panel. Unless, Clay, did you want to say something?
I just want to quickly say what's great about what's happening. There are several countries that are represented. This isn't just us talking, it's the entire world talking. And Lou with his vision on it and his whole group of folks that he works with, has also allowed for us to announce the next communities that they're going to identify as intelligent communities right here at our conference. So I want you guys not only to get a lot out of this humanizing data, which is so important, but also think about the honor that we have to announce what he's about to announce this afternoon. So great job, Lou, and I wanted to take my hat off to all of the panelists and Dr. Chu particularly because he brought his own people here, so remember about that. So thank you guys for your time.
Well, thanks for having us, Clay. Yeah, and again, I want to thank these guys too because they've come from Australia and Canada and Taiwan, and Royce, he's all over the place, so we're here.
Still love New York.
Absolutely. And with regard just to lead into Melbourne, to Andy Lee, what we do every year is we designate the world's most intelligent community. And it's a very rigorous process. We go through a lot of data. There are 400 cities and places that are considered. Tonight here at 6 o'clock, we'll name the next 21 that will be considered to be number one. But last year, from that whole group, from that global search, it's like looking for The Voice except city version. This community, Melbourne, was named the world's most intelligent community. So you can start off by giving them a hand. Andy Lee is the Technology Investment Director for the Government of Victoria, Australia, of which Melbourne, of course, is the second largest municipality in that state. I'm giving a little bit of background about Melbourne. They're a leading financial center, about 130,000 people, and they're a metropolitan area of about 4.5 million, and they're the hub for the Australian TV and film industry. In 2016, The Economist named Melbourne as the world's most livable city. Not only the most intelligent, the most livable. I think those two things go together, right? You don't want to live with smart, dumb people. You got to be around smart ones. But it was the 6th year in a row.
7 now.
7th year in a row. Correct. So with that, Andy, I'm gonna let you talk a little bit about what you're doing there at Tech Investment, and again, how you guys have thought about broadband, because you didn't have a lot of it until most recently. You had to start a national broadband network because you weren't getting a lot of it, like Harlem, and then how you begin to layer that so that you can attract the kind of technology companies, keep your young people home to move things forward.
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to take credit for the whole of Melbourne for the Intelligent Community Award. So we're very great. Thankful for that award. We had some really great competition around the table here, but it was fantastic. So has anyone been to Melbourne at all? Oh, fantastic, great. Right. Everyone else, come and see me afterwards. I'll take you all out there. All right, you got to get you out there.
It's a short flight.
Yeah, short flight. Short flight. Yeah,
22 hours.
Journey of distance. So I'm actually based in our trade investment office here in New York, helping tech companies across the Americas expand into Melbourne, and then also helping our startups land over here. So essentially I get to hang out with cool people doing cool things and talk about how awesome Melbourne is. So it's a great job. So we have been building out Melbourne as the #1 tech destination in Asia Pac for the last kind of 4 or 5 years. That's been a big movement from all types of business, government, down, attracting investment, but also helping our tech companies expand globally. So, we've been doing quite well. But coming back to your, the intelligent community aspect, the broadband, how critical infrastructure is, we actually were ranked 49th in the world, I think. 48th, for access to broadband. Essentially, that's because we're such a big continent. And we're so dispersed, and getting infrastructure to all parts of the countryside has been hard. So we have invested as a government around $50 billion in providing a ubiquitous fibre network to the home, and where we can't get fibre to the home, we're doing a mix of fixed wireless, so 5G, 4G, 5G, and also satellite. So we launched 2 satellites recently to get the outback Melbourne. So, but
So the idea, Andy, was to first and foremost get everybody connected.
yeah.
Because what was happening over a 20-year period was you were losing your best and brightest. A lot of people were leaving.
Off to the Valley, off to New York, and they're still doing that, but if they've got the support and infrastructure at home. And as a government, that's what we've been trying to do, is not only with broadband, but also infrastructure. So co-working spaces, accelerators, incubators. We've got a $60 million fund that is essentially designed to, bring companies like WeWork in and other, global programs so that people don't have to go to San Francisco, people don't have to go to New York, people don't have to go to London, they can stay in Melbourne and build that out. So whilst delivering core infrastructure around the broadband is really quite crucial. We're going to have 170 odd co-working spaces in Melbourne for our startups and entrepreneurs to access and collaborate. So on any given night of the week, you've got 1,000 different meetups from across all different types of sectors: fintech, medtech, really strong in medtech bio in Melbourne. So yeah.
Well, let's talk about those working spaces, because you've also, and when we get to Roy at the end, you guys have also transformed the real estate industry there and the way people look at work and how they go to work. And we know today that work is largely a function of collaboration. It's not sort of an isolated process anymore, and that the overused word ecosystems is quite appropriate. But the question is, now that you guys have built the infrastructure, how do you enable the culture to come together to do the types of things that, again, are necessary for communities to break out, to create the kinds of tech companies, to create the kinds of companies that use technology, and to create better services companies in that sort of new real estate or work environment?
It's a really good question. So, that cultural collaboration is so critical for building our community, breaking down the silos. So we're quite lucky. We've got about 9 or 10 universities clustered around Melbourne CBD. We were just recently named a knowledge hub, top 4 knowledge hub in the world, with Cambridge and New York for having the most universities in the top 500 on the global index. So how do we bring academia, corporate, startup, people together? And that's by creating these spaces. And we've done that quite well as a government. We've had to actually lead that process where we're saying, well, if you want money from us, because we've got a pool of money here. If you want money from us, then we want to see who you're collaborating with. So if you're corporate, we want to see working with universities. If you're startups, we want to see how you're bringing in regional, how you're looking at programs that are important to government, such as diversity, inclusion. So we've been really kind of focused on how we bring those groups together to create magic, which is what it does.
And there's also something new happening, again, within the intelligent community movement, within the cities that we observe. You mentioned universities. Very, very important to leverage the intellectual capital in a place. But what you guys also are doing, as is Edmonton and places in Taiwan, you've got your universities working together with your local government, and then working together with your private sector actively.
Yeah.
And the Dutch call that the triple helix, because they believe they're creating a new DNA for a community. Is that? I mean, would you give that advice to the folks here who are
Yeah, absolutely. And not only just local government or all levels of government, so state and federal, all collaborating together. We're very good at R&D in Australia, but we're very bad at commercialisation. So one thing we've had to really work on is bringing in that mentality from the US around the hustle, around the risk, and saying, well, let's actually incentivize commercialisation of all these wonderful research that's happening within our universities to then create new companies, new enterprises that we didn't know existed. So coming back to your question around real estate, how it's changing though. So millennials they don't want to work in offices, yeah? They're a funny bunch, but they all want to collaborate. They want to work around these cool, hip spaces like the WeWorks of the world, which if you I'm sure everyone's been inside one, but they're stunning in terms of.
Roy, has everyone been inside one?
Has everybody been inside one?
If not, he'll take you. To the one in Melbourne, which is open to.
We'd love for you to. You'd love for you to come. Yeah. I don't know. Are you tossing?
No,
the ball my way?
No, just asking you to acknowledge.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'll just stay here.
We'll get to you.
So we now have corporates who are now going to our, like the WeWorks of the world in Melbourne and saying, can we put teams in, like, can we put teams in this place? Because we don't know what we need to do, but we want to do something. We know that this is the way to do it, and our younger generations are saying that they don't want to work in these stuffy offices. And we have some of our largest banks who have now got their own co-working spaces where they're bringing in like their small business customers and saying, hey, why don't you come and hang out and collaborate and work on really cool projects.
Yeah. But again, my observation there was it is also a dedicated attempt to activate creativity, because we know that is going to be sort of the fuel that's propelling new ideas, new jobs. Originally, I just thought everybody was going to WeWork because they were single and they were looking for somebody. But that's absolutely not the case.
Probably that as well.
It's collaboration. And
Absolutely collaboration.
And creativity. I mean, IBM does that study a couple of years ago. They polled 1,500 CEOs and they asked them what the #1 core competency would be of their senior managers over the next 5 years. And it was creativity. So it tells you how, again, the thinking has changed about how we go to work, what we do at work, and what we need to have good economic and social outcome. Andy, I'm going to come back to you a little bit later on how you're dealing with a homeless issue that's begun to grow there. But it's a good segue into Brad. Brad Ferguson is the president and CEO of the Edmonton Economic Development Corporation. Came all the way from Western Canada to be with us today. They were one of our top 7 communities last year, so they were one of the finalists with Melbourne. We consider them all winners, by the way.
They're the best looking.
That's right. They have a population of about 900,000, largely historically known for oil. I think located near some of the largest oil reserves in the world, comparing to the Middle East and so forth. And that has sort of informed their economy. But if you go there now, you will see a very, very different place. You will see a knowledge economy, a creative economy like the one we see in Melbourne. And what's interesting is that they are really out geographically in a rather isolated place. But as we like to say at ICF, the middle of nowhere is no more. Right? You can live anywhere you want in a great city like Edmonton, be connected to that global economy as long as you've got the broadband. You guys have pretty much taken that step. And I'll ask you a little bit later about the TELUS fiber project. But Brad, give us an overview of what the unique model is of your economic development agency, and why you guys also go around the world looking for investment opportunities for the city. But give us that profile.
Sure, I'll try my best. So, sorry, how many people have been to Edmonton? Nice, all right. He's coming back to Edmonton.
Actually, I just went skiing in Banff last
In Banff, yeah, excellent.
And we went up.
So
It has the largest
Canada,
largest urban park in the world.
yeah, that's right. It's
The
like
mall.
22 times the size of Central Park. So it's all a trail system and
They like
everything. So Canada is the second largest country in the world. 90% of all Canadians live within 100 miles of the United States border. Half of everyone else lives in Edmonton. Just to get, and we're 400 miles north of the Montana border. And what's interesting, and I came out of Procter & Gamble, is Edmonton was the ideal test market, because back in the days where you had TV, Edmonton didn't have any spillover advertising from the United States, so it was a very pure market. And what that did is it really built a culture of experimentation, where companies would come in and they would experiment with something that wasn't on the market. If it succeeded, they could take it worldwide, and if it failed, nobody would know about it. And that actual DNA of our city has actually kind of continued to where we are today, where it's still, quite geographically isolated, but now you start building in technology infrastructure and everything like that in order for the city to still have quite an interesting economy that is all based on innovation. As our energy sector has, been depleted over the last while, still strong, like incredibly strong, but we've always been under the urgency to innovate and diversify. So we've had urgency on our side as well. That has forced us to find partnerships around the world, because our population isn't big enough to do it by ourselves. So it's been an open innovation aspect of inviting the world to Edmonton with the universities, startup communities, in order to actually create solutions, either to make oil cleaner, greener, safer, faster, cheaper, or to get into new industries. So that's kind of the basics. The other piece, though, is that because you're isolated, you have to rely on each other for survival. You have to rely on your neighbor for survival in a fundamentally different way. So it's an unusually cooperative city. And one of the decisions our leaders made, our mayors made a number of years ago, was to take our economic development agency and bring it under one roof. So we run all the foreign investment and the external trade side. We've got tourism. We've got the 2 conference centers. We've got 5 incubators and research parks, all under one model. So when an opportunity comes in, you can snap your fingers and everyone's on the same page versus territorial, which is in a lot of cities. We find we can just move faster. Or if you're under attack on something like the outside of broadband, direct flights are critical, and you lose a direct flight to Melbourne, and next thing you know, the whole city can be on the same page with a advertising campaign or something to get the head of Air Canada back in and to justify what he just did. So it's a pretty interesting DNA that way, and that's how we're structured, and we think it's a pretty interesting competitive advantage.
So again, collectively, you are able to do what the commissioner was saying this morning. You can demand things, and you have some clout there. Just as a couple statistics, your organization has increased revenue and employment by 25% annually, and you invest $85 million in R&D on an annual basis. So again, you're walking the walk. You also are a leader in open data, and you've done some things with using that data to drill into issues like crime. Because you had a downtown redevelopment where there was a lot of crime in the city, and to do things in the healthcare area that, again, I think are instructive of not using data frivolously, as we were saying this morning, but using it to really make a human impact and to create a better community. Can you just give us a little heads up on your open data policy there?
So I think we're considered the leader in the country on open data and one of the top in North America, but we started with a partnership with IBM on crime a number of years ago, but really the health platform is now the new platform.
Yeah.
And actually, if you bring crime and health together, it allows for a whole lot of social entrepreneurship to happen. So for example, we had a heroin issue in a certain part of the downtown core, and we had open data around the police force in terms of all their open information, as well as all the health information in terms of hospitals and scheduling and everything like that. And as a result, you end up with a bunch of social entrepreneurs that say, gee, I should be creating an education program around something to go into the schools at certain times of the year or during employment's ups and downs and things like that. So it's been I think now we're just starting to see the real application into the company domain of open data. What makes it a little bit unique is our health system, because we have universal health care, so everything everything is under one banner. So
Does any American know what that is?
Let's not go there.
So as a result, the entire data set for 1.4 million people for the last 75 years is now an open, perfect data set for companies like Merck or something like that to come in and set up a research institute around it. So
And it stimulates a lot of startup activity.
it's probably going to be about 50% of the future of the city right now for the next 5 years.
I want to circle back on the health issue as well. Just on that crime thing, though, what I found amazing when I was having dinner with the mayor, he said, we're not guessing anymore about why crime happens. We know where it happens. We've got a 11,000 grid system set up. We have 92 rules. We actually don't guess anymore we don't stereotype anymore. We've got data now, and so we can manage this stuff. And that was, again, it sort of opened up the future for, again, communities, right? That's a new notion. Looking at things as they really are, not how you're perceiving them or as how somebody's told you they are.
We've got what is supposed to be the third best artificial intelligence machine learning school in the world in Edmonton at the University of Alberta. So now it's all predictive modeling in the police force, and that's what they're focused on, is all predictive modeling.
Right.
And so at 8 o'clock, if there's a hockey game downtown, we know exactly how the bars and the flow of traffic happens. You know exactly how many police need to be there and what's the probability of something happening based on a tie game that goes into overtime with a win versus a loss. It's fundamentally different in terms of how crowds get created. So
Right.
it's really interesting what's going to happen in the future.
So you don't just assume that Edmonton's going to win every hockey game anymore?
I don't know.
But that's right, and also just on the broadband side of it, TELUS, which is their broadband carrier, the telecommunications company, has a project that has a very strict relationship to using data in the healthcare field. It's kind of driving that investment, as I understand it. Can you just give us a
So,
snapshot of that?
The the telecommunication carrier used to be a city-owned agency, and then they spun it out and privatized it, and it was the best thing that we could have done at the time. And that company's now investing heavily back into full fiber right to the home, so full broadband to every home. It's $1 billion investment, and that's leveraged then a couple times. And what that'll do is TELUS Health, which is a division of TELUS, will set up, I think, a pretty significant structure in the city to help really, I think, to drive the healthcare strategy for TELUS across hopefully the country. That's our game plan.
Yeah, and again, when I got the briefing from them, they were again looking at this and saying, we're a telecommunications company, but if we can make an impact on healthcare, and it impacts our workforce, it impacts our startups, it'll attract people here. Here's the economic output. Here's what we're going to get as a return on that investment. And TELUS was really committed to the community. So again, when we start getting our broadband here and we put our 2025 vision together, those things need to be considered. I mean, Verizon should have jumped on this opportunity here, 30 years ago, right, and done what TELUS did. But they seem to have bought into the Edmonton proposition.
We have a great mayor, and
There
it's leadership is still the most important piece on an intelligent community strategy, and if you don't have it at the top, I don't know where it comes from. And we're lucky we had a 34-year-old mayor 4 years ago, so he just got reelected 38, and he's got a vision and he's driving it, and that's wonderful.
Yeah,
So.
I remember when he picked me up to go out to dinner. I was looking around the lobby. I was looking for all the bodyguards and stuff. I saw this guy with a beard and a backpack.
Yeah.
And I said, "You know who the mayor is?" I'm the mayor. Very cool guy. Well, thank you, Brad. And again, we'll come back a little bit to maybe explore why the Financial Times of London said that you guys had the best economic potential of any North American city, and how that might apply to Harlem having the best economic potential of any neighborhood in New York State. Jack.
Hi.
How are you? Jack Chu is here. We're delighted that he came. Jack is a PhD, Dr. Chu, and a professional fellow at the Weatherhead East Asian Institute at Columbia.
Yes.
So you're
I'm coming
one
from
of
Taiwan.
us here. You're a New Yorker.
Hi, I come from Taiwan. So how many people been Taiwan? Oh, so how many people?
By the way, the people from Taiwan didn't raise their hand.
Oh, so how many people speak Chinese? Wow.
Wow.
So can speak Chinese?
20%.
No. I tried. I hope you understand my English. Okay.
That's very good, Jack. Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Taiwan has 13 intelligent communities.
Yeah.
They have a national strategy at the presidential level
Mhm.
that they implemented many years ago to create an intelligent island, which means that a place with 23 or 24 million people,
23.
23 million people,
Yeah.
looking across the water at 1.3 billion people, looking at a global economy, has said to itself,
Mhm.
we are going to organize our information
Yeah.
systems, our educational systems, our population, our culture, so that we can punch way above our weight
Mm-hmm.
and control the terms of the economy and politics for as long as we possibly can here.
Yes.
And so what they've done is taken some of our ideas, we have an institute there, we're pleased to say, and they've tried to implement them from the bottom up,
Mhm.
which we think is a great approach. But to get very specific,
Yeah.
there's been there's a significant focus in Taiwan to differentiate themselves by making sure that there's a great quality of life for the people there, the people who live and work there. And your area is water.
Yes. Yeah.
And, it's always blown my mind that a bottle of Coca-Cola costs more than a bottle of water. And that people actually leave bottles of water around. Because clean water is one of the hardest things in the world to produce.
Yes.
And if we don't have it,
No.
I hate to say we're screwed, but we're screwed.
Uh,
But we don't, so in Taiwan, what they've done is they've taken issues like that,
Mhm.
clean water,
yes.
and used data to make sure that you will always have clean water in a world that has increasingly less and less of it.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how
Okay.
open data
Okay.
can be humanized.
Okay, thank you. It's my honor to be here. Thank you, Luke. I am a PhD from National Taiwan University, and currently I am employed at Taipei Water Department. The Taipei Water Department is a public sector of Taipei City government. So we supply potable water to 5 million people in Taipei metropolitan every day. So as an educator, I have some figure data. Yeah? Thank you. Yeah. So we always say incentive about building a smart city. So how? I think there's a benefit in development in industry, in economics, in cities. But how? How sustainable development? Use IoT? Yeah, next. Okay.
So what we're going to be looking at here, those
Yeah,
engineering.
as an educator,
those
you
zones.
know I'm doctor, so, sorry, no. Okay, next.
We're looking at systems that use data to make sure the
Oh,
water's
okay,
clean.
no, please, okay, we see, this is our water, a smart water system, okay? Smart water is not, no manpower reading. So, we have this smart watch in our main, this is master water and the sub-meters. Then we have non-stop data every 20 minutes. So we use the in traditional ways. We just use the non-manpower reading, so we can save our manpower. We can save our revenue, but we can use the data. So next, okay. Okay, this is in the case we have data every 20 minutes, but this is the data what use volume versus duration. We use mathematical transform. This is a simple mathematical transform. So we can transform the data to the frequency. Okay, so how to the IoTs into our daily life? We have one day we have to 72 20 minutes. So we have 72. So 1 month we have 2,160 intervals. We can normalize the data, and then we have the probabilities. So every 20 minutes, do you think what is the most frequently we use the water?
So you're measuring usage rates.
Yeah. So
ongoing
do you know? Every 20 minutes, the most you use the water. Drink, or dishwashing, taking shower, or laundry? No. Now, we can see that. The most is the 9 liters. The second is 18 liters. Usually, the third or fourth is 27 or 36. So we can indicate every 9 liters is our pool, our pee. Yeah. Yes. In our daily lives, every 20 minutes. Yes. In one family. Yes, in a family.
One family goes to the
Yeah, 20 minutes. Yeah, so most in 20
Very anxious
minutes.
family.
Yes, toilet flushing once, then twice, then third, then 4 times. Every 20 minutes. Yeah. So, how to sustainable development? Please next. So.
Does everybody in here go every 20 minutes? It's just old guys like me.
Yeah,
That's the data. That's the data.
Next. So that is a public social housing. So we use the water saving toilet. Yeah.
Yep.
So we can reduce our watt's use in Taiwan 10% in just compare normal household. But we can do better because now I live in uptown. Yes, you can. Water level is no. My host say, well, we are old building. So sorry for the old toilets, but you can see the water level is low. There, this is the water saving toilet in Taiwan. Wow, still high. Yeah, we can do better.
You can do better.
Yes.
But again, we're joking, but it's not a frivolous argument, because if you use less water, again, there's a lot of social good, a lot of costs are saved, and the most natural resource on earth
Yeah.
is saved. Let me ask you this, Dr. Chu, the big data movement that's come into Taiwan now, how will that impact policy in cities with regard to usage of water, the way water systems are implemented?
Yeah.
Will it create new laws? Because it's hard to pass a law like that in New York, where we have minimal flush toilets. We've got old buildings here. Literally, I live in one.
Yeah.
It flushes like 1,000 gallons a time. It's terrible.
Thank you, Lou.
I don't want to be overly disruptive, but we're bringing your lunch to you right now. You can eat and learn at the same time.
Let's give
Okay.
Clay a hand.
Okay, I continue. If anybody to go to toilet, almost 20 minutes. Okay.
$10 pop.
Yeah. Now my research topic in here is the water. It's the water resource value. Yeah, under the climate crisis. Yeah, of course it's in global. Maybe not including White House.
Right.
Maybe.
That's right.
In Taiwan, we have a lot of rainfall, but because Lou, you have been in Taiwan, we have many mountains, so we cannot save the water. So we have to conserve the water. Yeah, in Taipei we have a lot of water, but out of Taipei, yeah, there's not enough water to use. So this is very important.
It is.
Yes.
It is. Let me ask you a final question, Dr. Chu. Again, the subject here is broadband, right? Vision for 2025. How will the infrastructure help use less water?
Oh, yeah. Use less water. So we have improved our pipeline system. We spend a lot of money, and we start maybe 5 years ago. We start build intelligent water network system.
Right.
Yeah, like this. So we can, in fact, we can use sensors, so we can control our power efficiency. Yeah, we can save a lot of power. We can save a lot of money.
Right, so the combination of sensors on the network allows you to gather enough data
Yes.
to continue to use less water.
Because I work at government, so I think in Taiwan, city government or like government like me, water department, I think our government is a platform, yeah, to help industry, and we because we have the data, so we can set up a policy or regulation for from nowadays. In Taiwan, in Taipei, in whole Taiwan, we cannot use no water-saving toilets.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Ah,
In Taiwan,
yeah. In Taiwan, we have a regulation. We cannot use non-water-saving toilets.
in other words,
You must use it.
Yeah.
so, again, the idea of sustainability is taken seriously, and if a place is not sustainable, is not resilient, as we heard this morning, it is not going to be a place where these guys are going to come and invest, or you're going to be able to keep people. So, thank you, Jack, for that. Roy, you're kind of the outlier here
I
because
was, I was just gonna say, how do you follow that?
Well, you can finish your water.
Frankly, I'm getting the urge to go to the bathroom right now. I need to drink less water. So, yeah, I'm a bit of the outlier. Although, and I know you're gonna tee it off in discussion. First of all, hello everybody. Happy Friday. Enjoy your lunch. And I'm just really happy to be here, right? So I think there is a common theme here, and if I could just jump in, and I appreciate the kind words around WeWork. I had told you earlier, my son thought I wasn't cool enough to work here, so.
Totally cool enough.
My son is a millennial, for example. We were talking about how millennials are looking for different places to work. They are definitely different. But I want to offer this. When I saw the title of this panel, Humanizing Data, and then I read a little bit more about what this discussion was going to be about, how intelligent communities arise and awaken, I was super interested in coming because I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what that means for us at WeWork. I was just at our Harlem building, by the way. For those of you who haven't been to the building, please stop by. It's on 126th Street. Awesome vibe there. It's not a very large building. It's about 500 members there. But some of what I'll talk to you a little bit about today will start to make sense when you see our space. So when I read how intelligent communities arise and awaken, a lot of what sort of was bubbling in my head was this notion of connection. And we've heard the term co-working a lot. You will continue to hear that throughout the world in certain communities and all of that, because it really kind of speaks to how the future of work it's evolving. The gig economy. There's a variety of different things that's sort of contributing to that. But I was at another event where somebody called out and they're like, "Oh, WeWork, you're a co-working space," and frankly, we don't define ourselves as that. We define ourselves as a platform for creators to connect and have meaningful connections, and we do that in a variety of different ways, both physically and digitally, right? But part of our mission and vision is to allow people to make a life, not just a living. So when I look at that statement, how intelligent communities arise and awaken, for us, it's about connection. It's about connection. And having the ability, whether it be in a physical place or in a digital place, to come together and have, develop meaningful relationships and connections that ultimately will improve your life along with those that you're connecting with. So it's interesting because I'm hearing a lot about what's going on with intelligent cities and things of that nature. For us, it's about that connection. So when we opened in Harlem. Let me take a step back. We have 170 locations around the world. We have 150,000 members that are part of our network. We're in 56 cities and 18 countries. So we've grown very, very quickly. Here in New York, we will have 43 buildings by the end of this year. And we're growing super, super, super fast. But the reality is that we believe that it's not so much about the physical plant as much as it is about the connection of the people within the physical plants. And how do we get a member in Harlem connected to possibly a member in London that will help them grow their business? So we're very fortunate here. We opened our first building in Harlem last year, December, actually, of last year. It's not a large building, but it's almost full. We're just about 90%. And I was just there this morning, and we were talking about some of the members and the member stories, and it's incredibly inspiring for us because, we get to, and Silicon Harlem is one of our members in our space, so awesome. But, we were talking about Taylor Johnson, who owns Harlem Candle. You guys know Taylor or the product? A little bit, a little shaking, yeah. So check it out. But she tells her story about how she was working from her home, and she was looking for a platform where she can actually connect and network to help her develop her business. And she's been with us for less than a year now. She's coming in on a year. and she's now traveling the world growing her business. So, you know, we're fortunate to be a part of sort of this movement of, you know, the future of work, the evolution of work. But for us, it's not about just co-working. It's about the connections and in getting people together to do not only their own life's work, but also to contribute to somebody else's life. So I thought I'd just share that because I think that there is some connection
great.
there
Yeah,
as we were talking about communities.
There absolutely is.
Yeah.
You know, and again, everyone on the panel will agree that collaboration is sort of the new secret sauce.
No
Right?
question.
I mean, if you don't, and collaboration leads to creativity, creativity leads to innovation. You know, innovation is one of our 6 basic criteria of our method.
Yeah.
If you
yeah.
don't have innovation in your city, if you don't have places where it can take place, you're going to be at as big a disadvantage as if you don't have broadband.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so the question I had, Roy, was you said to me when we actually met the first time that you sell into cities where you can only sell into cities where you can add value. You only want to be in places where you can add value. And I'm assuming that some of that value is to understand the nature of the knowledge worker. You know, Peter
Yeah.
Peter Drucker said famously 70 years ago that by the time we get to this era, a human being will not be able to find a pathway for him or herself into the middle class without at some level using knowledge and creativity as the basis for their personal income. You can't go into the middle class. So tell me, how does WeWork look at that knowledge worker, that city? You know, these are intelligent cities. These are the places you like to invest, and then, you know, add value beyond the ability to even mash up people. Is there some other
Yeah, it's a great
sort of
question.
driving philosophy
So
there?
it's a great question. I mean, you know, typically when you're in a business like ours, you put a lot of emphasis on you know, where do you want to go, right? And and so we look at the typical things, right? Like, you know, what does the public transportation look like? What are the industries that are in a particular market? But just as important is there an opportunity to create an environment where we actually develop connection? And you know, and there are certain cities that are really putting a lot of effort around that. Some of them here, right? I mean, so we look for that opportunity where we can contribute in that way. So so that's typically what we look for in terms of the city. But we also do a lot of research in terms of human behavior. So in terms of spaces, right? So in our spaces, we actually study where people hang out, right? I mean, so in a work environment, if you've ever been in our spaces, you'll see there's a lot of communal, beautiful areas where people can come together and connect and work and things of that nature. We actually take a lot of that data and we put it into our design. You know, and so we're constantly learning and evolving our product in a way that we'll put certain things, like we may put a pantry or a soft seating area in a particular building because we know and we have the data and the intelligence that says and suggests that this is going to drive people together to make a connection.
So you're using data to make that business decision.
No question. Yeah, we're constantly looking at that. You know, because you need to. I mean, ultimately, if our goal is to connect to humans or to people, then we need to evaluate their behavior. So we're constantly looking at how, you know, what's happening in our space, and then we're incorporating that into our design.
Right. But what I'm picking up is not change their behavior, but enable them to be more human.
Oh.
Be
We're
better.
not looking to change their behavior. You know, it's interesting because you know, there was a Deloitte study that came out. I like talking about it because the Deloitte study talked about the future of work.
Yeah.
And it was all about organizational architecture. I don't know if anybody read that. It's and it talked about the evolution of the organizational, the org chart, right? So if you remember, and I'm sure they're all out there now, you have this hierarchy, right? And what Deloitte was talking about was this evolution that it's no longer this hierarchy, it's more these teams that are coming together. And what you'll have is it's an org chart in a circle. And essentially you have these various, disciplines working towards a common goal. And what they were suggesting was that this hierarchy was one that creates silos in organizations. So the future of a lot of these companies is going to be more of these teams that are coming together. And they may be from different disciplines, but they're working together as a team against a common goal. And what was really exciting for us is that it supports the fact that you need an environment, whether physical or digital, where you can enable that. So it's exciting for us because WeWork essentially does that, creates that environment.
That's great. And you know, what's interesting, if you go to these two cities,
Yeah.
you'll actually see the city functioning that way as well. So it's miming a lot of what you're describing, and that's just great. I think we've got about 5 or 10 minutes left. Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask? Yeah. Could you identify yourself?
Yeah, I'm Peter Stewart, ParentJobNet. This is my third WeWork that we've been in. We were in before the dust settled at WeWork Harlem. So Lou had my boss there. We came from meetings. She was in her black suit, her black pumps, and she had a hard hat on, and we were marching through. That's the founder of our group.
Awesome.
So we've used that space, and the team there is incredible. Joseph, Diva,
Thank you.
Edwin now, and Eugene, incredible people. So WeWork, I urge it for everyone. I actually go around and lead the tour sometimes when I can spot them there and convince people to come. WeWork is a great environment for small companies and nonprofits to connect each other.
And I bet Roy will take you to lunch later. Do you have a question?
So my question is, how do we
That wasn't staged, by the way.
I was going to say, is he working for you?
For the record, no.
So the question is, in WeWork Harlem, I see a lot of diversity. In other WeWorks, I don't see a lot of diversity.
Yeah.
I've been to the Creator Awards ceremony. We applied. Wonderful. Great idea. I love it. I'm wondering, can WeWork reach out deeper into the universities, the schools, and programs like us?
Yeah.
How do we reach deeper, earlier into that? Silicon Harlem does it. I saw 30 students there this summer. How can WeWork reach deeper into
Yeah.
these neighborhoods?
Yeah, so first of all, so thanks for the compliment. I really appreciate it. And,
Roy, you might want to talk about the Creator Awards briefly.
I'm going to talk about Creator Awards, but I really appreciate the feedback on our team because really what makes us special are the people that are inside of our building. So I really appreciate you calling out Joseph and the team. I truly appreciate that. Quick note on Creator Awards because Creator Awards is it's an initiative that we rolled out this last year. We just had an event in Tel Aviv last night. We've been all around the world. New York is happening November 16th, I think, right, Katie? November 16th. We're essentially giving away $20 million. And these are for members or non-members. We're essentially encouraging entrepreneurs, even businesses that have already been established that are ready to scale or grow, to apply. And essentially you pitch your idea, your company, and you go through a vetting process and ultimately compete for a grant. So we're super excited about that. This is actually not a one-time thing. We're going to continue this going into 2018 and beyond. We anticipate that we're actually going to be in double, if not more, cities. So we're super excited about that. Unfortunately, the applications have closed for, yeah, I know. Yeah, they closed, I think, the 24th of October, which I believe this week. But there'll be opportunities. We got almost 2,500 applicants, so there's quite a few that apply.
Roy, can I just stop you there? Because
Yeah.
we got a little bit of time left, so I want to.
Yeah, can I just answer his question, though, real quick, like 10 seconds? And the question was, how do we reach back into communities? We just had this discussion today with my team in Harlem. And the way we want to approach that is we want every building to take ownership of that. So each building is going to be looking for opportunities to contribute to their community, whether that's with schools and, there are going to be things that we're going to do from a global perspective or even a tri-state perspective by territories, but we're encouraging the likes of Joseph and our CMs to actually reach out to the community and do good. And there's going to be a lot of that. In fact, there's one event that's being planned for next week here in Harlem that's going to support the victims of Puerto Rico. And that's the type of creativity we encourage our teams to dream out loud, to come up with ways that we can give back. And so we're going to consistently look to do that.
Great. Good community building. I just want to, again, pick up on what Roy said is on this idea of connection. Andy, let's take it to the Melbourne level, company to company. You've got a range of tech companies, startups, all bubbling there, doing a lot of great things. Is there some mechanism that either the state or the city has where they enable those connections to flourish to the point where, like at ICF, we have a city in Canada, Waterloo, working with a Dutch city to develop nanotechnology. We've connected those two cities, and now they're developing startups internationally. Is there something locally that, could be a model for what's going to happen here over the next 10 years?
Absolutely. The majority of the collaborations are coming out of our universities, our research facilities, backed by the government, backed by our corporations. JVs or joint ventures with whether that's industry specific, so cybersecurity is one area, data, infosec, data sec that we've really focused on and invested a lot. So we've brought together academia, corporates, startups, entrepreneurs, and gone out and built collaborations globally with international institutions that are focusing around cybersecurity. So Oxford Cybersecurity Capacity Centre is now in Melbourne working with our local team. The government of the Commonwealth of Virginia over here we've set up a program where our startups now go into land there, and their startups can come into our ecosystem. Tel Aviv, we did one with Tel Aviv University as well, the Platinum Big Centre there. So there's a number of, that's just one example of a number of things that are happening. So we're quite lucky as well. You were saying that you've got a mayor that's leading the charge. We've got a Minister of Innovation and Trade that gets his portfolio and is just wants Melbourne to be that global destination for technology, entrepreneurship, so we're,
So the key is you've set up a platform so that this can happen even city to city worldwide in specific vertical areas where you have business startup.
Yeah.
Brad, we've got about a minute, right?
Actually, you got like 10 seconds.
We got like 10 seconds.
Miguel Domingo is here. We're going to start.
Okay.
Anyone wants a seat in the auditorium, you guys got to wrap it up.
Okay, we'll.
All right? Otherwise, they're going to blame you for not having.
All right, I'm gonna give Brad then the last word on connection.
May I
You
have
got
30 seconds?
9 seconds. Go ahead.
I'm a big believer that, actually I'm going to pick up on Roy, it's all about community, and if you're Harlem or if you're Edmonton, or we want to grow up and be like Melbourne, like it does start with community. I'm a big believer in a physical space, whether it be a WeWork or a Silicon Harlem or something, but you need something that gravitates. And your political leaders, they won't create a parade, they get in front of a parade. So the community has to come together to do it, and then it's amazing how the politicians show up and the funding shows up, but it comes down to the community first.
And as we were saying earlier, seize your own destiny, create your own industries. I think Brad articulates it.
5 seconds.
5
Okay.
seconds.
As an educator,
Drink your water, he's
yeah,
gonna say.
I see young professional here, and I think you will study hard for one thing, focus one thing completely, because you know, use smart water meter. We didn't employ any manpower to water reading. So please be the master of the data. You use the data, you analyze the data, because you will be irreplaceable. Okay?
Absolutely. Well said. On that, gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you. I noticed me getting lunch.
What's that lunch?
Very nice to meet you. Yeah, pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah, pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah, pleasure.